Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Samasta Jana Kalyani Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Satgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Okay, so we are in Manah Shodhanam and we are on verse number 8. So we will read that verse. We can read it together. I'm on my page 20. It should be around the same for you. And so verse number 8. I'll read it, then you follow. Vichara sadhanam shreshtam. Vichara sadhanam shreshtam. Varnyate trayathamati. Thamati. Mahatvam tasya vai proktam. Mahatvam tasya vai proktam. Krishnena swayameva hi. Krishnena swayameva hi. Together. Vichara sadhanam shreshtam. Varnyate trayathamati. Mahatvam tasya vai proktam. Krishnena swayameva hi. So, in Manah Shodhanam, let's just look at the thought flow and then we will review this verse. The first verse to the 6th verse talks about the purity of mind. And it says why the purity of mind is essential. And therefore this book is called Manah Shodhanam, purity of mind. And we arrived at 3 reasons. Number 1, to arrive at this knowledge, the mind must be pure. Just to want to know more about the truth, to want to know more about who we are, the mind must be pure. Otherwise, if it's very impure, nobody's going to start seeking within. The second reason is to be able to absorb this knowledge, the mind must be pure. So sometimes we will find that we're sitting somewhere and so many things are being spoken about, but nothing's going in my head. It's going over my head, right? We have that expression, it went over my head. That's because the purity is not full yet. And we also need purity to abide in this knowledge. We might wonder, upon learning about this, upon listening to it, still I cannot live it. I know I have to eat healthy, but still I want my nacho chips and pizza, right? I know I have to sleep early, but still I want to watch my Netflix. I know, but I'm not able to live. So this purity of mind is required to arrive at knowledge, to absorb knowledge, and to abide in this knowledge. Without this, it won't be possible. So verses 1 to 6, we went through all of those reasons in verses 1 to 6. Then in verse number 7, we talked about how to purify the mind. So we went through 6 practices. 6 practices were there. They were tapas, austerity, yajna, selfless dedicated service, dana, charity, japa, chanting the name of God or mantra, tirtha, visiting places of pilgrimage, and vrata, a vow. Then now in the text, what is the ultimate way to purify the mind? It said vichara. So in verse number 8, it says vichara is the ultimate way to purify the mind. Vichara sadhanam shreshtam is the greatest way. And varnyate atra yathamati, it is described here. is going to be described here. Mahatvam tasya vai proktam. The greatness of this vichara is spoken by Krishna, Sri Krishna Swayamevahi, Sri Krishna himself. What is this vichara? That we saw extensively also in the last class. If you remember the BMI chart. Vichara means self-inquiry, a deep inquiry into who I am. Who am I really? And we'll just review a little bit since we did not have class last time. So who are we in the sense when people ask us about our identity? What do we normally describe ourselves as? I'm a parent, mother of so-and-so, father of so-and-so, or I'm from this family, or our profession, I am a teacher, or I am a homemaker, or I am a lawyer, right? Whatever it is. Or we say that I am, by my religion, I am Hindu, I am Muslim, I'm Catholic. Or we say by our cultural background, I'm Indian, I'm American, I'm Chinese American, Indian American, like that. And we describe ourselves by all of these things, and we take that to be our identity. But vichara means check if that's really your identity. Check. We first come to the level of the body. Can we really be this body that we take ourselves to be? This size, this weight, this skin color, this body. And when we did a little bit of vichara, we understood that we cannot be the body because the body keeps changing, and I am changeless. I've been changeless throughout. The body is an object of my experience, and I am the experiencer. I am aware of the body, but the body is not aware of me. So we take out the body. We cannot be this body. Then we think of, am I my mind? Am I my mind? All of these emotions and thoughts that I'm feeling, am I this? But if we think about it, how many different emotions we go through the whole day, right? So many changing emotions, yet I am there changeless. And I am aware of all these emotions. So sometimes joy will come up, sorrow will come up, sometimes stress, sometimes relaxation, sometimes peace. All of these emotions will come. There's one movie they made about this, Inside Out. It's a cartoony movie about all of these emotions, and they humanize these emotions. So I'm aware of my emotions, but my emotions are not aware of me. I experience my emotions, so they are an object of my experience, and I am the experiencer. So when I come to the level of the mind, I understand that I'm also not these emotions, because something in me is changeless, and these emotions are constantly changing. These emotions are going up and down, and I'm very much aware of it. I'm aware of the state of my mind. We are aware of the state of our minds? Yes? We are aware if we're attentive, we're not attentive, we're here or we're not there, right? So much so that if the mind is outside, we can even bring it back, right? So we cannot be the mind. Then we come to the level of our intellect, our ideals, right? So we have such high ideals. I am this kind of person. I am very, very honest. I'm very loyal. I'm very trustworthy. Or I'm such an angry person. Or I'm very, very, I'm the black sheep of the family. We have all these different ideas we have about ourselves. This can't also be us, because this keeps changing. Our beliefs in ourselves, our beliefs in the system. One minute I may be Democratic, the next minute I may be Republican, the next minute I may be from some other different party. Who knows? But these ideals also, they keep changing. And we're very much aware of them. Now, the deeper question is, what about this individuality, this personality here, this bundle of personality that we see, this Shubhani? Can this really be who I am? Now just think, when we wake up, we become the waker. Then from the waker, the identity shifts to the seeker. Because maybe we're saying a prayer, seeker. Then the identity shifts to parent, mother or father. Then the identity shifts to eater. Maybe we're eating breakfast. Then it shifts to exerciser, the one who wants to exercise. Then it shifts to worker or student or part of a company. Then it shifts to daughter, son. And it shifts to that. Then it shifts to thinker. Then it shifts to friend. And if you see every day, there's a shift in our identity. When I'm the waker, I feel like I'm the waker. Then all of a sudden I move to being a seeker. Then all of a sudden I'm the eater. Then I'm the mother. Then I'm the sister. Then I'm the friend. Then I'm the parent. It keeps shifting and shifting and shifting. All of these identities. This bundle of identities is called the ego. And we think that we are this bundle of identities. We think that we are this bundle called the ego. And so we pack all of these things up together. This waker, seeker, parent, friend. We pack it all up together and we say, this is me. But what is so funny is my idea of me is very different from your idea of me. So nobody can ever tell what this bundle is. And what's also phenomenal is that when we go to deep sleep, there is no individuality. All of our individuality is gone. It's absolutely gone. So can this be our true identity? Can this ego, this bundle be our true identity? And the answer is no. No, absolutely not. So not this body, not this mind, not this intellect, not this ego, but our identity, our real identity is that we are pure, this pure self, Atman, pure existence, consciousness, bliss. That's a real identity. And I had shown you that in the BMI chart last time. That's a real identity. So vichara is the process by which we inquire into our real identity, into who we truly are. That's called vichara. And not an intellectual kind of inquiry, like this is the self, this is not the self. No, this is not me. I should be able to look at the body and say, wow, this is actually not me. I should be able to go through my thoughts and say, wow, that's actually not me. I should be able to distance myself. I should be able to go through all of my ideals, my personality, and I should be able to say, that is not me. It's actually not me. This is called inquiry. This is the highest sadhana. It's the subtlest sadhana, and it is actually the purpose of life. Because once we realize who we are, there's a transcendence. And I'll explain what this transcendence is so that we take this process a little bit more seriously. When we come to understand we're not the body, there's a great freedom in it. Because we know that the body is going to change. That when we grow older, our hair is going to get gray. Natural. We're going to be slower in movement. We won't be able to run as fast. One time, in a satsang in India, there was a lady, she was an older lady and she was wearing makeup and lipstick and her hair dyed and everything. So one of the Swamis, Guruji, told her, Amma, I know you might look very young and you're putting all that makeup and everything, but when you sit down and stand up, I know how old you are. So he said this to her. So the body will go through all of those things. But when we have this understanding that this is not me, there's a great feeling of peace. That, yeah, it will go through it. My body will have to go through it, but I am different from it. I'm far removed from it. And when my mind goes through so many ups and downs, I can just pull myself away and say, yes, I am different from it. Right now, the mind is doing all of those things, but I am different from it. And when people criticize this ego, praise this ego, do things to this ego, I can be completely removed from it because this is not me. Otherwise, the whole entire life we're protecting our ego to make it look good. We're protecting our ego, our individuality so that it looks good. And that's an obsession with the ego. It's an absolute obsession. So this vichara gives us a great sense of freedom because we are able to distance ourselves from who we are not. The body, the mind, the intellect, the ego. So this is Shreshta Sadhana. And Bhagavan Krishna talks about how wonderful this sadhana, this practice is in the Bhagavad Gita. So now we're going to read verse number 9. Verse number 9 is what Bhagavan Krishna says in the Gita. And the first line is from 4.38 and the next line is from 4.10. So Swami Tejamananda Ji, he clubs it together in this verse. Let us read. Nahi jnanena sadrisham, nahi jnanena sadrisham, pavitram iha vidyate, pavitram iha vidyate, bahavo jnana tapasa, bahavo jnana tapasa, puta madbhavamagataha, puta madbhavamagataha, nahi jnanena sadrisham, pavitram iha vidyate, bahavo jnana tapasa, puta madbhavamagataha. So we'll take the first line first. He says, nahi jnanena. He says, there is nothing like knowledge. Nahi jnanena. There is nothing like knowledge. Sadrisham means like. Nothing like knowledge. Iha, here, pavitram. There's nothing here so purifying as knowledge, vidyate, that is known. So there is nothing here as purifying as knowledge. There's no other thing as purifying as knowledge. So let's analyze this for a moment. Why is he saying this? Is because the mind itself is dirt. In the first level, we try to purify the mind, but the mind itself is dirt because we are not the mind. We are not the mind. It itself is dirt. And while all of these purification techniques, they can make us feel better, feel more wonderful, they're not going to get rid of the doer. So they're not going to get rid of the sinner. So let us say I perform some charity. I perform some charity. I perform some japa. I go on pilgrimages. Those are very, very good deeds. And they'll give me some purification of mind. But they're not going to get rid of the doer, the very performer of those deeds. Now, why is this necessary? Because even in the spiritual path, those people who do seva or charity or austerity, the ego really goes up, isn't it? I did this much seva. I have performed this much japa. I have gone to these many places in pilgrimage. The ego really, really increases. So despite even performing so many spiritual practices, doing so many good things, the ego increases. Therefore, this path of knowledge is so superior because it removes that very ego. The most dangerous thing is a sattvic ego. A sattvic ego means this pride about being noble, this pride about feeling that we're better than everybody else, feeling that we're oh so great. This is a danger in the spiritual path. So it's not just about purifying the mind, but it is getting rid of that whole ego, uprooting it once and for all. That is the path of knowledge. So these spiritual practices get rid of what we say, the sins that we have, but this practice of inquiry gets rid of that very sinner. these practices may seem to solve the problems or challenges we have, but this path of knowledge dissolves the problem for good. So when we talk about inquiry, it is that. It is uprooting the very ego, the very performer of action. Because that's where the problem is. If we analyze all of the things in our life, the main issue is always our ego. It's always our ego. So there is nothing greater than the path or than that procedure, than that method of knowledge. And he says, Bahavaha jnana tapasaha puta madbhavam agataha. Purified by the penance of knowledge, puta jnana tapasa bahavaha madbhavam agataha. People have attained my being. Many have attained my being. So the direct path to liberation, to moksha, is knowledge. Because the problem is ignorance. We are ignorant of who we are. We don't know who we are. We don't know that we are this Sat Chit Ananda. We don't know. And therefore the direct path to knowledge, to liberation, is knowledge. Once we know who we are, that in itself is liberation. So many have been purified by this self-knowledge. Now, there is a crux to this. This is where a lot of people get confused. See, the path of self-knowledge is to understand I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the intellect, I am not this individuality. I am pure Sat Chit Ananda. I am this bliss. I am this awareness. I am this consciousness. And when I understand this, then life is very free. Because whatever happens to the body, the mind, the intellect, the ego, I am removed from it. But some might say, but won't the body go nuts? Won't my body, I'm not the body, so I'll just eat all of that junk food and I'll just go party and sleep late and binge watch. I'm not the mind, so let me shout at everybody, let me yell at everybody, get frustrated at everybody, let me do that. I'm not the ego, so let me display all my abilities, let me display all my talents and everything. So let all of it go wild, let all of it do whatever it wants to do. But that's not the idea. The idea is the only kind of mind that can do this inquiry is a very pure and sattvic mind. That's why the first stage of spirituality is to cultivate a healthy body. That is the first stage. Shariram adya dharma sadhanam. The body is the first part of sadhana, of spiritual sadhana. So the first stage is to cultivate this healthy body. The second stage is to cultivate that healthy mind. The third stage is to cultivate that healthy intellect. Because when I do all of these three, and only when I do all of these three, then I'm really able to inquire and go within. Otherwise, I'm not able to do that. So the first stage of spiritual development is always the purification of these three: the body, the mind, and the intellect. Why? So that we can go beyond the body, mind, and intellect. This is much as spiritual life. Purify the body, mind, intellect to go beyond the body, mind, intellect and realize who we are. So now how do we do that? So now the text takes a turn. The text now is going to go into this section where we're actually going to look at our impurities. Right? Because we first, remember, Sri Krishna wants to take us beyond the body, mind and intellect. He's very clear about it. But in order to take us there, we have to purify the body, mind and intellect. And we saw some techniques of how to purify the mind. But now Sri Krishna, it's going to flip. Now he's going to say, I want you to look at your mind first. First, look at your mind and see where your mind is. Because sometimes we think that we are very, very pure. So Sri Krishna, in the Bhagavad Gita, and even in the context of this text, First, we're going to look now and observe our minds. So let's look at verse number 10. Etad bhagavato vakyam swatma shuddheka siddhaye vicharyate maya samyak Shri Harir me prasidatam Etan bhagavato vakyam swatma shuddhyeka siddhaye vicharyate maya samyak Shri Harir me prasidatam. So it says, Etad bhagavataha vakyam. This Lord's statement, swatma shuddhyeka siddhaye, for gaining purity of mind, vicharyate maya. This inquiry will be taken up by me samyak, very, very well. And may prasidatam Shri Hari. May Shri Krishna be pleased with me. So now we are going to take up this process of inquiring into our mind for the purpose of going beyond the mind. Because remember, only the mind that is sattvic, that is pure, can actually transcend the mind. This next section in the book is going to be a path of deep introspection. We're going to do a self-analysis of our own minds. And this is incredibly helpful for all seekers. Why is this helpful? So first, we're afraid to be with our own minds. The first reason is we're afraid to be with our own minds. So when people say, why don't you sit quietly for some time? How much time? Why don't you sit quietly? What will I do when I sit quietly? What will I do? We don't know how to be alone with our own minds. And every time there's a silent moment, we want to put some AirPod or some earphone, or we want to call somebody, or we want to talk to someone. And there's some people also, they cannot live alone. They need the TV on the whole entire day just so that there's some noise in the background. And they cannot be alone. So the first point is that we have not sat alone with our mind. We have not sat alone. We're so afraid also to sit alone, because what will my mind throw up? And mind you, the mind is the best friend. The mind is with us 24/7, every day, every morning, every afternoon, every evening. So if we don't think about what's in the mind, then how will we ever fix it, and how will we ever face it? So the first thing is, we're not aware of our mind. We're not even aware of what impurities are there. We don't know. We don't know what impurities are there. Is there anger? Is there anger? Is there greed? Is there likes and dislikes, strong likes and dislikes? Are those issues there? We have not seen. We have not looked into our mind. Second is, we don't comprehend the consequences. So let us say that, maybe we have some anger issues, but we don't even see what the consequences of anger are. Yeah, we might have some procrastination issues, but we don't even comprehend what is the effect, what is the impact of that. Yeah, we have some lazy issues. We're pretty lazy. How is it impacting my entire life and my family and my kids? We don't grasp the consequence of it. And third is, this is the worst, okay? And this is also said, so we feel like there's nothing wrong with us. There's something wrong with me? There must be something wrong with you. I have an anger problem. You have an anger problem. I have no problem. We deny that we have any such impurity. We deny it. And sometimes we dress it up to make it look good. So yeah, I have anger problem, but you need anger to get things done in life. So it's okay. So we take those impurities and we dress it up and we justify it and say, yeah, it's okay to have that. Or you're so lazy. Yeah, it's okay. So I made so much money, so it's okay to, be like this lazy once in a while. So what? So this kind of a thing we also do. So one is we're unaware of our mind. We don't know what's going on. We don't know how the consequences, how far the consequences are of our own behavior. And we tend to deny that we even have such a problem in our mind, and we dress it up by thinking it's like a virtue or something like that, being proud of it. So in this section, we're going to make an attempt to be very, very conscious of our mind. And in verse 11, he has given us these vices. There are certain vices, like we had spiritual practices. In verse 11, we have vices. And above that, I'll read what is written there, and this is the exercise that we're going to do. So first is be intensely conscious of impurities of our own mind. Next is see the implications and consequences of them. 3, understand them in their totality. And 4, do not justify or glorify any impurity. The best thing for any spiritual seeker is to accept. I was going to share this with the children today. See, the glory of Arjuna is that he accepted that he had a problem. That's the glory of Arjuna. He is in the Bhagavad Gita. He's a hero. Arjuna is a hero. He's called Parantapa. Parantapa means everybody shivers when they hear his name. Parantapayati Parantapa. He's a great hero, great warrior. He gets into the battlefield and he's completely crushed. But the greatness of Arjuna is he says, Krishna, I have a problem. I have a problem. I am breaking down. Sidanti mama gatrani. My limbs, they're shaking. Mukham chaparishusyati. My mouth is dry. He says, Vepatushcha sharire me. My head is spinning. Roma harshascha jayate. I'm getting all these goosebumps in my body. That Arjuna was breaking down completely, and he even dropped his Gandiva. He dropped his bow. And he cried. And he said to Lord Krishna, I have a problem. I am dharma samuda chetaha. I am confused about my dharma. I'm so confused. I don't know what to do. So he accepts that he has a problem. Not only does he accept, but what he does is he asks for help. This is the glory of Arjuna. So I have an issue here. I'm breaking down. This is not who I am, and I need your help. And because Arjuna did that, Arjuna, he asked for help. He accepted his breaking down. What did Sri Krishna do? Sri Krishna lifted him up and gave him the Bhagavad Gita. If Arjuna did not ask, if Arjuna did not surrender, Sri Krishna would never have helped. He would have just kept quiet. Because wise people, they always keep quiet. they only give help when it's required. Otherwise, it will fall on deaf ears. Right? So wise people are always like that, like Sri Krishna. He's quiet throughout. But the minute that Arjuna surrenders and says, I have a problem, I have a weakness, help me. Sri Krishna lifts him up and says, let me tell you what to do, Arjuna. And thus begins the entire Bhagavad Gita. So in a spiritual seeker's life, to actually accept that we have weaknesses is a great strength. This is a greater strength than trying to cover our weaknesses. To accept that I have a weakness is a great strength. And we will only know our weaknesses when we look at our minds. It is like when you look at a mirror, you have to fix something, isn't it? Have you ever looked at a mirror without fixing anything? Impossible. We have to fix something. So when we look at our mind, we also have to fix something, and we will want to fix it. Now, the next verse, how this will go, because I want this to be a very introspective activity. We will read the verse, but we will take just one today. We will take today likes and dislikes. I will divide you into groups, and I will ask you to analyze likes and dislikes in our minds, okay, in our mind setting. Let's read the verse, and I'll give you instructions. Raga Dveshadayah Kamaha Dayah Kamaha Krodha Lobhadayo Picha Krodha Lobhadayo Picha Ahankarastatha Swarthaha Ahankarastatha Swarthaha Vividha Manaso Malaha Vividha Manaso Malaha Ragadveshadayah Kamaha Krodha Lobhadayo Picha Ahankarastatha Swarthaha Vividha Manaso Malaha. So, this verse is talking about us. What do we have in our minds? Let us count. Raga Dvesha, likes and dislikes. All of us have? Yes. Kamaha, this desire, this great desire. We all have? Yes. Krodha, anger. We all have? Yes. Lobha, greed. We all have? Yes. Ahankara, pride. We all have? Yes. And swartha, selfishness. These 6 things consist of the impurities of the mind. So with each of these 6, we will analyze these points. What is it? Why is it there? What are the consequences? How do we justify it? And how to get rid of it? Okay? So list down these 5 points. I asked you to bring paper and pen today. Today we will discuss likes and dislikes in smaller groups. First, answer what is a like, what is a dislike. Raga, Dvesha. Second point, why do they come? Why do they come? Why do these likes and dislikes come? Third point, what are the consequences? Well, is it so bad to have likes and dislikes? We will see. First I want you to think, then we will see. What are the consequences of having so many likes and dislikes? Raga, Dvesha. Point number 4, how do we justify likes and dislikes? We also justify ourselves out of it. And number 5, how do we get rid of likes and dislikes, or at least lessen our likes and dislikes, right? So this is the 5-point analysis.